Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Living Astrology Radio with your host, Janet Hickox, human design consultant and intuitive astrologer. At Living Astrology, we are tapping into the wisdom of the cosmos to uplift, empower, and enlighten people to their personal genius. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Astrology. I'm your host, Janet Hickox, and I'm hoping that Jason is live with us. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Janet, my love. How art thou?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty good. You know what?
Good.
Can I get a hell yeah? Mercury is now in forward motion, or at least a stationary direct.
I want to tell you hell yeah and a couple other curse words, but I'm going to be polite because we just started the damn show. I'll warm up into all the other ones.
You know, I was doing so good. This was a great Mercury retrograde for me, as in right from the start, I had lots of creative ideas. I could write them out, and I could get them communicated. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, everything went to hell in a handbasket. My computer went down, my sound wouldn't work, and then I got that finally working, and then the printer wouldn't work, and I made a mistake in my bank account, which pissed me off, which I never do except when, of course, Mercury is retrograde. And, yeah, it was quite the day yesterday.
You know, I'll tell you something, lady. It's not me to try and go tit for tat or one-up someone, but my car died last week. I mean, dead died. I threw my back out, forcing me to be present. Oh, fun and games. And then I say this with a bit of lightheartedness because being a metaphysician, you understand that this time on this earth is a process. But day before yesterday, a dear friend of mine, young man out of the blue, had an aneurysm in the middle of the street, passed away, and that was God's plan. And, you know, I mourned and I screamed and I gnashed. But you want to talk about Mercury really bending you over the bench? Jeez Louise.
Yeah, that's
no
tough.
Kissing, no nothing. Yeah, it was just like, are you for real? And you know, I think I had reached out to you. You said something about it being not only Mercury retrograde, but there was the eclipse at the same time. And I just thought, well, you know what? There is not enough drugs and alcohol for this. I tell you, honey. So,
yeah, this was a pretty interesting time. I've heard from a lot of people who are suffering through some of the strangest things, you know, weird things happening. And, you know, it occurred to me yesterday, and I think I posted this on Facebook, that sometimes Mercury is a bringer of the past, in that something from the past comes back at you. And yesterday when I was ranting and raving and having an absolute conniption about the sound going down on my computer, I realized
word. Conniption.
Yeah,
go ahead.
conniption. I mean, yeah, it was one of my rare actual tantrums I was having. Yeah. And what I realized is that the whole deal with the sound on my computer wasn't so much as in when I had updated to Windows 10 almost a year ago, my Beats audio, which was a major component of my buying this computer in the first place, had disappeared. And I hadn't even noticed that it had disappeared. And then suddenly yesterday, after I had to go through this whole process of getting my sound back, suddenly Beats audio was back, and I realized what I had been missing. Thank you, Mercury. God. So sometimes there's these little blessings in the disguise of a Mercury retrograde. Now, I'm not advocating that we all have Mercury retrogrades more than the few times we have it a year because they suck. But
to put it mildly,
sometimes there's a little nugget of goodness.
Yeah. If anybody looked at the video posting I did for your human design, I say it quite simply. It sucked.
Yes.
And, you know, quickly before we get into some of the planetary things, could you just let people understand about this, what you were joking with me, and I wanted to reach through the phone and strangle you, about, you said, ooh, Mercury does its little wobbly thing. Well, talk about that Weevil's wobble effect, because I was just like, I'm not hearing it. I'm not having it. Girl, you better just speak to whoever's in charge and just stop it already.
Well, okay.
So tell your listeners about what the hell that means exactly.
That was Janet speak, by the way. I'm not sure that any other astrologers would call it the wobbly effect, but I call it that because we have this time period before Mercury actually turns retrograde. It's more appropriately called the shadow period. And it's about the 3 weeks before retrograde begins. And then you have about the 3 weeks worth of the retrograde itself. But the day that the planet turns back to direct motion, you're not done. You still have this 3-week period of time approximately for the retrograde to complete the entire cycle. And this is what I want you to visually connect with. Mercury went retrograde at 29 degrees, I believe it was, of Virgo. It had already come through 14 degrees to 29 degrees. And now it's going to backtrack from 29 degrees back to 14 degrees. And today, of course, as it changes, it's at about 14 degrees of Virgo, and it's going to go back over those same 15 degrees of the sign. So we get this idea of the energy of Mercury retrograde taking us from the inner to the outer and then back to the inner. Or maybe I said that wrong, the outer to the inner. Yeah. Anyway.
It sounds like a lot of in and out action, if you ask me.
It is, because, a retrograde period brings you to the internal, right, the inner world. And it causes you to pause and maybe what your normal action forward would be. And then as it goes back to direct, you have more outer world expression, but you're still in that process of, let's call it an integration process of what you have learned during the Mercury retrograde itself. Now, sometimes those things that happen, like your back going out, my sound card going, or my sound issue, and people may, I talked to a lady today whose refrigerator went down, her car went down, and something else happened. She lost her job. I mean, 3 big things happened all in this retrograde period of time. And what those things are like stop signs. Right? They tend to slow you down so that you will integrate the lessons of that retrograde period of time. So these lessons were all in Virgo, and we were all being hit one after another with these Virgo lessons, as we had the North Node transiting, which still is transiting through Virgo. Then we had Mercury, Venus, and then Jupiter also finishing its transit through Virgo. So lots of lessons in Virgo have to be integrated. So we have that time period to be able to do that. And now here we are blessedly almost at the end of this time period, but we have new energy with us today, because this is the I almost said it again, Jason, dang it. I don't know what it is with me in the spring equinox. So for my friends that are listening down under, it's definitely your spring equinox. But for those of us in the northern hemisphere,
nice
is
save
the autumn.
There, lady. Nice save.
I know, and then I told on myself too.
I love it.
So the equinox changes fundamentally this energy. So we can talk now.
Like myself, all those laymen like myself, I don't know. Would you like to tell us in layman's terms, please, what's an equinox?
The equinox is that time. There's 2 of them, right? The spring and the autumnal equinox, which is a point at which the sun is directly over the equator, and it gives us pretty much an equal amount of daylight and nightlight. And so, right. So that's why
equal. Okay, got it.
Equal day, equal night. Now, for those of us at the northern latitudes, like we're above the 45th parallel where I live, and I'm pretty sure you are as well, our days begin to get a whole lot shorter, and our nights get a whole lot longer, faster than those people who are closer down to the equator. I know growing up in Southern California, I never really noticed how quickly it got dark. But here in the Pacific Northwest, pretty soon our days are going to be, dark at 4:20, 4:30 in the afternoon. So we are ushering in a time period of more internal or inner work as, the equinox shifts us into, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, that darker time of year. So it's all very interesting. Yeah.
So what I'd like to do now is if you would do me, because I have a lot of people in the queue that I'm sure want some readings, but why don't we do this if it suits your fancy, madam? Tell me a little bit why this equinox is astrologically pertinent, why it's important, and then give me some highlights for the next 3 months. And if you want, I will pull 3 cards and see if they jam together in any cogent fashion. Does that sound good? That's awesome.
That's perfect.
All right, so tell me about the equinox and why it's important, please, and let the listeners know why.
Perfect. So the equinoxes, and actually even the solstices, I do this, regularly, actually. 4 times a year, I am talking about what is to come. And that's because the equinoxes and, to some extent, the solstices give us a snapshot of what the cosmic weather is. This moment, drawing a chart up for the equinox, and I treat it just as if it was a baby being born today, because it has a time that it occurs, it has a place where I live, and then it has a date. And I can get a snapshot view of what the themes are that are developing for the upcoming 3-month period of time. It's much like what I do for someone who's got a birthday, right? I'm going to draw up a solar return chart. I get a snapshot in time of what the next year will bring for someone if it's their birthday.
Like a progression.
Correct. Kind of like a progression, only, there's a term in astrology that's progressions, and that's not what this is, but it gives us this idea of where the energy is moving. And it also, it gives us an idea of what is ending, as in the summer is ending, and what are the qualities that we're bringing to closure. And then it gives us an idea of what is emerging, because we're opening up into a new season. So we get this idea of this continuum, this life continuum, but we can also kind of tap into the more specifics of the energy for this time period. And literally, sometimes even the weather on the planet can be sort of predicted by what things look like at the equinoxes and the solstices. So get this.
Okay.
This morning, I wake up at 10 minutes after 6. I'm never awake that early. Well, I might be awake, but I'm certainly not going to drag my butt out of bed. But this morning, I woke up. I couldn't go back to sleep, and I'm like, I'm getting up. And I had this energy in my stomach all day. In fact, even to some extent, I still have this feeling of sort of like butterflies in my stomach, or an excitement, or a dread even, or a nervousness. And I kind of call it like my anxiety feeling. So when I got ready to pull the actual cards, or pull the chart for the equinox.
That's my job.
That's your job. You do the cards,
yeah.
I do the chart.
Yeah.
So I pulled up the chart, and what do I see? But all of these red lines. Now, for those of you out there who've seen astrology charts, there are aspect lines or configuration lines. They tell us about how all the energies are playing together, or not,
right.
such as the case may be. And so I pull this chart and I look at it, and I literally just went, oh, F, fill in the blank, right? Because what I'm seeing.
Shall I?
No, that's okay. We have tender ears listening today, perhaps. So we have, what I see is this chaos in all of these red lines, which denote usually the challenges, the obstacles, the main sort of things that we're going to have to overcome, the oppositional type qualities, the square qualities, which are often very challenging, and very few blue, which usually is telling me where things are good and where things are easy. And so I looked at this chart and I went, wow, this is really interesting. It actually forms what they call a Bucket-Jones pattern. All that is to say is that if you could picture the sky and something above you that would be like the handle of the bucket, and the rest of the stars or the rest of the planets holding the space of the bucket itself, what we have is the moon in Gemini at this equinox holding the handle. Well, what do we know about Gemini? Oh, my God, right? We're dual. We have all kinds of ups and downs and all arounds and things like that we are dealing with. And what do we know about the moon? It's also changeable. So we have Gemini ruled by Mercury, mercurial, and we have the moon called Luna for a reason, because we can change things on a dime. So the thing that would be stabilizing the bucket, i.e. the handle, is the moon. And that tells me that this particular season is going to be one of ups and downs, of change, of transformation, of new beginnings and endings. So we have a mixed batch of energies. Is it any wonder I was feeling feeling that anxiety? So
do those red lines have anything to do with the fact that I think, don't we have a blood moon coming up?
The blood moon is typically an eclipse, and that was already occurred, or that had already occurred.
Oh, we're not getting one? I thought we were getting one coming up. Okay.
No, but what we do have coming up as far as the moon is concerned are 3 supermoons. So October 16th, November 16th, or 14th, and December 14th are all full moons.
And do they wear nifty little outfits with capes?
No, they're usually more lunatics than that.
Wonderful.
The supermoons are really like jacked up full moons, because what they are the closest approach of the moon to the earth. And it tends, if anything, we know that the moon pulls on the tides of the earth. You as a human being are made up of about 75 to 80% water or fluid.
Yep.
And so what happens is you are also being pulled and pushed around by the tidal influences of the moon. So when the moon is closer to the earth, then we tend to get a few more bumps in the road. I was thinking about this morning too. I must have had a really, interesting thought morning, because, often we think of the new moon as the, maybe the lighter or the lesser of the lunatic type qualities of the moon. But in reality,
maybe a little less punch.
Maybe less punch, or an easier time of it, but so not true, because in talking to some of my friends that are in mental health care, they tell me that invariably there are more crazy things that happen to people at the new moon than at the full moon. So go figure, right?
Yeah.
All I know is that the moon figures prominently in this equinox, so we will most definitely feel the tug and the pull of that moon on our physical beings. So there you have that.
Right. And so does that sort of answer our next 3 months on your end?
It kind of does, in that what happens for the next few months is that, first of all, there's one other big thing happening here today that's specific to some really interesting energy. And I think I was feeling, and most of you out there are fairly sensitive, so maybe you can validate this for me, but I was feeling concussions of energy coming through today. And you and I've talked a couple times today, but I never really mentioned this. But I actually even laid down to sort of take a nap because I had gotten up so early. And I felt literally a concussion, a boom, as it hit the house, even though there wasn't a concussion, there wasn't an explosion, at least not that I'm aware of. There wasn't an earthquake, at least not that I'm aware of. But it was this wave of energy I was feeling. Well, duh. Guess what else is happening today? Mars,
tell me,
the planet of action, the catalyzer of action here on our planet, is conjunct the galactic center. And that also sets us up for cosmic energies flowing in, catalyzing our actions over the next 3 months. The galactic center, for those of you who don't know anything about it, it is the center of our galaxy, our solar system. And from it emits a lot of evolutionary impulse energy that puts pressure on us to change here on the planet as a collective. Well, and actually, it's not just the planet, it's the whole of the solar system to evolve.
I think that's fascinating. Janet, I think that's fascinating because old-timers like myself at the tender age of 48, when you think of Mars, you think the harbinger of war, a warring planet. And to say that it's over this galactic scenario and percussions, which is tribal, you could feel these waves of energetic flows. And then you look at what has been happening in the news in the last week or two with respects to these terrorist scenarios and shifts in paradigms. I think it's fascinating.
It is, and here you have the perfect thing of as above, so below, right? We have this energy that's building in the outer, in the planetary energy, and of course its reflection is going to be here on the planet. And so the only thing that I can say in all of this, because I got to tell you, October looks to be a wild ride, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. The only grace we have in this, or let's just call it the biggest grace we have in this, is that Jupiter is now in Libra. And so for everybody out there, even though the outer world shows us some really crazy things, and trust me when I say it's probably going to get worse in the next couple of months and weeks, is that we can always come to peace and harmony within. That just because the outer world is showing chaos, it does not mean that we have to get involved with that, right? We can we can let cooler heads prevail in our own personal dealings so that we don't have to feed into that frenzy, to that, what was it, the riots last night in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm not quite sure what precipitated that particular riot, but it seems to be a thing lately that something happens, a shooting, a killing, and I'm not justifying this at any rate at all. I think it's horrible what's been happening out there like that. But the reaction of people is to go all postal, right? They get all crazy and they start looting and burning, and that's just not solving the problem, right? It's adding to the problem. So let cooler heads prevail and allow that Jupiter, the grace of Jupiter in Libra, which is Venus energy. Venus rules Libra, and Venus energy is calmer. She's mostly more in harmony with things. She goes more to the beautiful things, right? Yes. So that's one thing. Now, looking ahead a bit into October, remember I was talking about Mars at the galactic center. The galactic center sits about 26 to 27 degrees of Sagittarius, which puts it at the very end of the sign of Sagittarius, which means Mars is getting ready to move across the galactic center and into Capricorn, a sign near and dear to your heart. As you're a Capricorn, right? But what happens as we move into mid-October is that Mars is going to conjunct Pluto. That's already in Capricorn and already creating deep ripples of transformation in our collective unconscious, or the collective consciousness, let's call it that. Incredible. And now, Mars takes 2 years to go completely around the zodiac, by the way. So we haven't had this quality of concussion, let's say, for 2 years. And if we go back 2 years ago, Mars, interestingly enough, in November of that year, almost got hit by a comet. I mean, it was a bullet burn, essentially, for poor Mars, as in we could have been the witness of a huge cosmic explosion, literally, as a comet, I think it was comet sighting almost moved into, literally banged into Mars. So, gotcha. So we can see these concussive properties building, and we can see that we have these ripples of transformation going on, and Mars as a catalyst creating some of those changes. I can't even imagine what might happen. Danger zone. I'm going to give you some dates. From about October 15th through the 23rd, with the 20th of October being the exact day that Mars conjuncts Pluto. And that will be some very trying times, I would expect, out in the outer world. Don't let that scare you. Pardon me? Repeat those dates again. From October 15th through the 23rd, but with it particularly impressive on October 20th. Right? And some of you out there listening today have birthdays right around then. And so, it may be a great time to get a solar return reading to see how all of this shapes up to push you off into your new year. Okay. But again, not to feed into any kind of fear, but just to know that this is what's happening. And then, interestingly enough, just a few weeks after that is what? The national elections here in the United States, which is already a crazy, goofy sort of election. And I think would be lovely, Janet, we can talk about it. I think would be lovely would be during the month before the election. I think it would be great to do a show, maybe looking at both of their charts and perhaps looking at what's going on in the cosmos. And for lack of a better term, give some predictions as to how that's going to all go. I think that would be a fascinating show to do. It probably would be very good. It would probably be very good, although... Yeah, I will forego my 3-card reading of the next couple of months because we've got a lot of wonderful people in the queue. So I will defer to you. Would you like me to throw out some card scenario? Or would you like to dive right into our first listener, who I believe is Diane, who I have on the line? I would really like you to at least give us the main card for the fall. Okay. Well, I put 3 cards for the fall. So I'm going to give you a quick Reader's Digest. For the very first period, from now until about mid, let's just say mid to late October, so we're in September, October, okay? It is a card called Luxury. And this card tells you
basically, it's the card of Jesus Christ. It's the card that says to you, be thankful for what you have. Hang in there and enjoy the security. It also tells you, hey, you had a hell of a summer. We've had some really challenging aspects. Go ahead and bask in the good work that you've done and not beat yourself up, and do yourself a favor to enjoy some luxury. Pamper yourself a little bit. However, for all of the people who have addictions out there, who are prone to addictions, don't hang out in your luxury and your pampering too much, because it could be problematic energetically. The next period right after that is the Eight of Discs, and it's a beautiful card full of flowers. And the name of her is Prudence and Permission. It basically says, like you talk about a lot in the human design, this is for all of you generators that are listening. Do not fail. Do not give up ship. Hang in there, especially in that October-November period that you just finished talking about that's going to be dicey. Mm-hmm. Do not freak out. Be patient. Relax. Stay with it are the key words at that point. Do not wander from your duties. Trust me, there will be some payoff. Now, the last period right before Christmas, Janet, is not a fun one. I'm going to tell people straight out, it is defeat, which means all of the people out there that are starting to think in their crazy-ass ways of, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, Christmas is coming, I need to do this. Stop the superficial mumbo-jumbo. It's saying, be careful not to do the same thing you did last year and get yourself in debt. The credit cards, put them away. Stop the insanity. Not that I don't like our economy to be stimulated. Don't misunderstand me. But the card really warns us to not get involved and do the same thing you did last year that ended up screwing you in a major, major, major way without kissing you first. So it's defeat, and it doesn't want, and it's telling you the defeat aspect is energetic. You're going to go into the Christmas time period feeling wiped out, feeling lethargic, feeling like there's no hope. It tells you, be careful. Think about doing things this holiday season differently. Really go from the inside out, from feelings, not from the externals. And that's my 3-card reading for the next 3 months.
Great.
I hope you enjoyed that, and I would like to bring in Diane for you.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Diane, hello.
If you'll just hold with me for just a moment.
Okay.
Hello.
Diane's on the line now.
Hi, Diane.
Hi,
how are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you for so much knowledge in the first moments of your show.
You're most welcome. I get on a roll and I can't stop talking.
Yeah,
okay.
I love learning.
Hey, so here I am looking at your chart, Diane, and your chart reminds me of the equinox charts. Lots going on everywhere around it, pretty much spread out across the entire chart. Is there a specific topic you want me to give you clarity on today?
Whatever you feel would be beneficial. Really, I'm open to what you think I need to hear.
Okay, so I'm going to start here because one of the other, let's call it one of the other big news items for this equinox that is a whole lot better than the Mars potential for chaos and all this eruption stuff, is that the sun is going to be catching up to Jupiter here over the next day. And even in the equinox here, from an astrologer's point of view, we say that the sun is conjunct Jupiter. And for everybody listening, this is happening somewhere in your chart, wherever it is that Libra is in your chart. And this is huge because it begins a new cycle of the sun and Jupiter. And for you, this is occurring in your 3rd house, which is the house of the mind. It is the house of communication, short trips, and your relationship with neighbors and siblings and the people that are right around you. So you have a new growth opportunity because that's really what we're looking at with the sun and Jupiter is growth and a direction maybe for your vital life force energy. So happening in your 3rd house might mean that you have new opportunities for teaching, new opportunities for learning, more opportunities for communicating, So does that sound like anything that's going on in your life right now?
It does. Absolutely. In fact, when you said about the siblings, one of the siblings I haven't spoken to in a while, and are you suggesting that it could be a change in it, possibly?
I'm suggesting exactly that. I mean, anytime, that you have two big, planets, they comprise a good chunk of the life force energy in our solar system, the Sun and Jupiter. And because Jupiter's in Libra, and Libra is a relationship sign, this gives you the opportunity to possibly work through the healing of this energy. By the way, Jupiter hasn't been in Libra for 12 years. So this gives you maybe something to look forward to, and to, maybe bridge the gap with your sibling and see how you might be able to open up a dialogue with that person. So very interesting that that's showing up for you.
I love hearing that. You have no idea. Especially at my age, that would be very fulfilling.
Of course it would.
I think it could have been, not quite 12 years, but it's been several years.
Yeah, it would have been 2004 and 2005 that were 12 years ago. So you could even look back then.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, oh, wow. Yeah. See?
It was. You're 100% right. So interesting. So it's not going to repeat. So what are you saying? It doesn't repeat itself. It starts on a different outlook. Is that it? Different feeling?
Yeah. Well, here's how I usually look at it. It is the continuation of the same story, but how do you want to rewrite the ending? How do you want to edit the story? So if the story is you and your sibling had a falling out over something stupid, and it's, rarely something huge. Usually it's something that, maybe was building over time, or is something that's totally reconcilable. And then you get this next bump, right? This time. Now, how do you grow through something like that? Well, you have to face it in some way. Either you have to come to a point in time where you have peace with the way the relationship is, or you do something about it. And this is your opportunity to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Make sense?
Spot on. Spot on. I so understand. This is
right.
Great.
And now, is this a sister or a brother sibling?
Yes, sister. It's a sister.
It's a sister. So here we have Venus energy very prominent. Libra is a masculine sign, by the way, interestingly enough, but it's ruled by the feminine planet, Venus, which is why we get balance in the sign of Libra, right? You have masculine and feminine and they're striking a balance or a harmony. So, maybe looking at some of the more feminine energies, or maybe you have to bring in some more of the masculine energies to bring this relationship back into harmony. The potential is huge, though. You could bring this back into harmony as there's really no other major problems going on in this part of your chart, right? So it's time. Right. I think there's a healing afoot for you and this sister. By the way, what sign is she? Do you know?
Yeah, June 9.
So she's a Gemini. So remember back in the earlier part of our conversation today, it was the moon and it was holding the handle of the bucket, signaling to us at the end of a cycle perhaps, or a change in the air. So, and Gemini being the sign that your sister is, you might have to make the first move. I don't know that she will make the first move, but certainly the opportunity is here for you to heal through this. And because I have a lot of callers today, I need to move on, but I want to tell you one last thing, is that Mars is at your galactic center in your 5th house of joy, pleasure, creativity, fun. So this is a house of love and romance as well. So if you can let love prevail here, right? If you can let love prevail here, then the energy coming from the cosmic center is about unconditionally telescoping love to your sister. And from there, the opening is that you guys can solve whatever issues that you have between you. Okay?
I'm so happy I spoke with you. God bless, Janet. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling today, Diane. All right. Take care now. We'll put you back into the queue because I see Jason is still talking with someone. So for those of you who are listening today, we're going to try to get through as many readings as we can. And let's see, after here I had, area code 407. This should be Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. Are you there?
I am. Hello.
How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I have your very interesting chart in front of me. Tell me, I chuckle when I say that because I really do mean it. It's pretty interesting because your chart sort of is natally in a Bucket Jones configuration where you have Chiron instead of the moon, Chiron and Eris in a conjunction holding the handle. So that makes me think of this as being a revolutionary sort of life, a healing journey in this life for you. So tell me a little bit about what your question might be today or what your main concern is moving forward now. Jennifer? Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can
you hear
now. Yes, you got off on the other line. So tell me a little bit about what is your concern or what is going on with in your life right now.
Pretty chaotic, pretty intense. Just wondering what you see coming up with all this new energy going on.
Well, can I wax philosophic here a bit with you? And that is,
Absolutely.
You have just embarked upon what is going to turn out to be about a 3.5-year journey of growth. And this, if you go back 12 years ago, you were also on that same sort of 3-year period of growth that was happening for you.
I had a great 12 years ago.
Yeah, and these kinds of cycles are actually the good kinds of cycles. Now, of course, growth sometimes means challenges. We don't always grow through everything just being so optimistic and happy and go lucky and that kind of thing. Although Jupiter's the planet, often the biggest growth opportunities come when we are in challenge mode. So I expect there will be challenges, but I also see that this is a long-term. It's like if you were on a stairway, right, and you've just taken a step, you're going up now, right? You're on a growth path. And then after those 3 years are up, you'll be on an integration path. So longer term, all the growth is happening over these next 3 years. So what kind of growth do I mean? Right now, you're on a spiritual path of growth, right? Your beliefs, your philosophies, the way you interact with the world, your worldliness is in growth mode. That will lead to career and profession and authority growth, right? Who am I in the world? And will be affecting your reputation and how you get recognition in the world. From there, it leads you into the 11th house, which will be more about what is the dream? What's my vision? What are my goals? And as I tell my human design clients, your job is to determine what it is you want to see in your life, not how is it going to happen. So that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. And then finally, the last piece of this growth opportunity for you goes through the 12th house in clearing the unconscious mind, right? Clearing out the patterns that are holding you back. So that's why I say, this is a mixed bag because growth comes with the challenges that you are presented with. So it's a lovely time, these next 3 years for you. And it's not often that I get to focus that far ahead with people in a reading on the radio, but you are really set up here now for a long-term surge, if you will, in your growth opportunities. So go for it.
Does that like having involved with like a divorce or some kind of like new relationship kind of thing, or?
It's a possibility, although, those are not the houses that are being affected. But, sometimes, these reverberations go around the chart. They move through your life, not just, hitting your 10th house of career, for example. So, because remember, the house of career is also your authority. So what if you were having issues claiming your own authority in the confines of a relationship? Well, then that means the relationship would also be affected by these transits for you. So the one thing I really can see that you can help yourself with here is that your liberation zone, for lack of a better word, at the moment, and that's where Uranus and Eris have been in a conjunction. Is happening in the 4th house of home and family, and your roots are your foundation. So I would start looking there. What is my foundation? Right? What have I planted, and how are those roots how are those roots playing? Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they needing some work? Do I need to do some pruning? That kind of thing. To look at your foundation first, because a strong foundation creates a strong period of growth. It can support that surge in growth that you'll be experiencing. All right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
By the way, how is your relationship with your family, like mom, dad?
Oh, my mom and dad are good.
Good.
Yeah, the husband thing's kind of like on the verge of something. I don't know what's going to go on with that kind of part of my life, but we're trying to work things out. I'm sorry?
What sign is he?
He's on the cusp of a Sagittarius and Scorpio, 22nd November.
Okay.
Hey,
so,
Janet, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
I hate to be rude. I'm just letting you know that you're on fire tonight, and our switchboard has lit up. You've got take a second and look at the switchboard. You've got lots of people in the queue, and not to rush you along, but to just bring your attention to that, because it's lighting up like crazy, okay?
Well, would you do me a favor, Jason, before you get off the line and go to someone else? Will you please pull a card for Jennifer here that kind of talks about
I haven't heard a thing because I've been in the background. So is there a specific situation that you want some clarity on?
Yes.
Relationship, please.
Okay.
Her relationship, yeah.
Please. Got it. The one that you're in at the moment?
Yes. Marriage.
Oh, okay. Yeesh. All right. Good. Okay, listen. In the past, immediately, I have the 7 of Cups. 7 of Cups is, it's been chaos. I don't know this person. This person definitely holds your interest, but I have to tell you, this sometimes comes up bipolar. This sometimes comes up, you don't know how this person is going to be from one minute to the next. That's in the immediate past. For some reason, you have an excellent presence card, which is a card of 10 of Cups, which means you're gaining clarity. It looks like things are actually kind of working out on some level for you, whether it's emotionally, physically, or the most importantly, I don't know if he has a good job, but it shows that this person has some moolah. Going forward in the future, I want you to know that if you do work to stay with this person, it would work out pretty well because it is the 4 of Wands, which means whatever you've invested, you're going to bear the fruits of going forward. So if things have been rocky in the past, you have a far more positive thing to look forward to with respect to what the cards are saying. So does that make any sense?
Yes, it does.
It makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense to me because what I'm seeing is your Neptune sits right about where your husband's sun is, and in the 12th house, right, which means there's some things that are hidden here, some confusion, something that's not quite settled yet between the two of you. So I don't think this is an ending relationship yet because there's something not quite there. There's not clarity yet. So keep digging, dig deeper.
And I want to tell you something. I don't know you from Adam, but my psychic spidey senses are going off, and I don't know whether he's ever been evaluated. And I don't mean to be forward, but there could be some mental things going on there, some stuff that he's inherited from his parents that is dicey. And maybe it wouldn't be terrible to see, have I married an ADD man who really is out there? Have I married somebody who has a little bit of this or a little bit of that? It might be really good to look at his psychological makeup so that you can gain some clarity. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, he's very, that makes sense. Very, very business, big, like a man's man kind of guy.
All right. All right.
Intense.
So that could mean that he's closed off and there are some things going on because of childhood. So go ahead and do your research. Try and look at him not just from a physical or an emotional, but a mental perspective. And that, I think, is going to give you clarity.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
You're welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for calling in and waiting today for your reading.
And
I'm going to put you back into the queue so you can listen to the rest of the show. And I believe the next lady that is up on your docket is, if I'm wrong, correct me, Janet, but I believe her name is pronounced Harjot, Harjot. Is that correct?
Que posible, yo no sé. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but bring her in anyway, and we'll find out.
I absolutely will. Harjot,
there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful.
And is that
Have I pronounced your name correctly?
There's the East Indian way of pronouncing it, Harjot. Even Harjot, it's fine.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I'm turning you over to Janet now. Enjoy your reading.
Thank you.
So, Harjot, I've actually got your text or your email about your birth time. So I've updated your chart so I have the correct information. So let's take a look at what it is that you might want to find out about today. Is there a specific issue that's going on in your life that you want some clarity around?
Relationships and career.
Okay, perfect. So as I look at your chart, remember, I was just talking to the lady before, and she had a pattern that you also seem to have going on in your chart, meaning that the planets for you are all above the horizon. They're all pretty much within 6 houses, right? You've got a couple of planets that hold sway down at the bottom. A lot of emphasis in the outer world, who you're going to be in the world, what you do in relationships, what you do in the, how your viewpoint is in terms of whether it's a worldly or a universal viewpoint as opposed to more of an individualized one. So as I look at your career right now, it looks like Saturn is moving through kind of redefining your authority in the world. Who do you want to be? And as I look at your chart, born in 1990, so you're just, 26 years old. What is it that you want, or you will be 26 here in October. So it's a good time for you to be taking a look at what do I really want to claim as my authority. The fear you have underlying all of this, and you might have to search your soul a little bit for this one, but the fear you have is that everything you do is meaningless, or that there might not be meaning to anything in life. And again, that's something that's a shadow part of who you are. And that means that it's not clear, and especially not at 26 can you see it all that clearly. But you might have inklings of this where you might feel like you're not quite sure what direction to go, as in it isn't clear yet. The meaning of your life has not come clear to you yet. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I have my bachelor. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you have your bachelor's in what?
Education.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got a teaching job, and then I did it for the first 2 weeks, and I just wasn't there. I felt like I was in the wrong place.
Yes, I get that. And did I do a human design chart for you today? Did I send you that?
I don't know.
Because I threw all the files on the floor that I did this morning. So hold on as I look through these really quick and see. Because I thought I had done it. Because human design, no, I did not. Okay, so human design gives us an idea of how you make decisions. So I'm going to send you to my website after this to request a free human design chart. And what we'll find out there is how is it that Harja makes decisions, right? What is the correct way for her to make decisions? Because it sounds to me like you did what you thought you had to do in terms of going to school, getting a degree, and getting a degree in a respectable subject, as in education. And then you get out there in the world to work at it and you go, but this isn't what I really wanted, right? And you're a Libra anyway. So Libras have that kind of indecisive sort of weighing their options kind of energy. And now Jupiter is moving through this part of your chart and is going to be putting a lot more focus on your ultimate transformation into who you really want to be. So I wouldn't force this issue, right? Don't force this. Let this come naturally to you. If you could do, if I asked you the question, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? What is it you'd be doing? If you did not have any concerns about money, family pressures, people telling you what you should do, what is it you would do, right? You don't have to say that out loud, but if you have a feeling about what that is, then why aren't you doing it? That would be the next question to ask yourself, right? Why am I not doing what I really want to do? Because time is precious on this planet. right?
Yeah.
Time is precious. It moves
Here,
fast.
here.
Yeah. And so what you do right now, the best advice I can give you is to go diving into your heart. What do I really want? And then start the action moving toward that which you want, that you desire. Stop getting in your head. You know, the head is not your friend here, because your head is going to tell you that you have to figure things out, and that's so not true, right? You don't have to figure that out. You just have to follow your heart. You just have to follow what you desire. Okay?
Yeah, my heart told me to get out of the contract, and I stopped eating. I couldn't eat anymore, and I was like, I couldn't do it.
Oh.
But
well,
no, for me, I'm more family oriented. So the fact that they wanted so much from me, and they basically told me that I can't really do stuff with my family because I'm going to be too busy at school. That just, I don't know, maybe I went into depression for a bit, but I was like, I can't do this. I need something where I can find a balance.
Absolutely. Now, I can see from your chart you have Pluto transiting through the 12th house, and that's a difficult time. And it's made more difficult for you because the planet Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn are all natally in your 12th house. Literally, you're in a prison of sorts, right? A prison of with bars that are of your own making, ultimately, is what you discover. So release yourself from the prison, right? Start looking out and pushing, through any of the fears or any of the patterns from your past that are keeping you locked into doing things or making decisions that aren't right for yourself.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Jason, I love it.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. But it takes courage to do this, Harjat, because a lot of what you've been educated to do, or conditioned is how we say it in human design, are things that are based in the mind, using logic. And most people are going to tell you, well, it's not logical to get all that education to get an actual job in the work that you trained for and then to quit it, right? That's not logical. But then most of what we do is we're conditioned to be logical, but it isn't who we are designed to be, right? It's only one way of our interaction with the world, right? The other parts are about knowing what's best for yourself. The other part's about intuiting what direction to go and who you need to be. So go through and figure out let me take that back. Listen to your heart and start moving in a direction of, what do I want? All right, that's your new mantra. What do I want? And then allow for things to happen. And get your chart. Go to living-astrology.com, quest a free human design chart, and I'll see it come through most likely later this evening or tomorrow, and I will send you a copy of that so that you know what your decision-making is, right? I suspect it's emotional. And if that's the case, if it is, then you need to follow what feels good, right? Not what your head tells you should do. I know this is tough because you're a millennial, right? You are kind of the bridge to what will be an evolutionary leap that we as humanity are taking, and that is in really going through and feeling our way through life instead of being based in fear. So go find your what and live from the what. Don't worry if it feels meaningless to you. You will find meaning in the search for what it is that you're designed to do. All right? Okay. I hope that helps.
Yeah. What about relationships and?
Lots going on in your 7th house of relationships, but because I've got to move on to some other people here, but let's say this, there's a lot going on for you to consider in yourself, right? You have got your destiny, by the way, is all about you, yourself, you. What do I want? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? It is the house of the I am. When you figure out who I am, then you are going to attract the we are part of this. and that will be where relationships begin to work for you on a whole nother level.
I love that. I love that idea. I want to use that. I'm going to steal that on.
Okay. You could do that too.
That's fantastic. So listen, Janet, we have about 5 minutes left. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. So tell me, why don't you look at the dashboard? Haja, thank you for tuning in. And please get in touch with Janet again. And I'm going to put you back into listening mode. And Janet, go ahead and pick your next caller.
Let's talk to Veronica.
Awesome. Let's bring Veronica in.
Okay.
Wait, I'm scrolling. Have I lost Veronica? Where is her?
I think Veronica just... Okay, instead, let's take Michelle. Michelle would like a reading from you. So, Michelle, are you there?
Okay.
Hello, Michelle.
I am. Hi.
Hey,
So
Michelle,
Jason?
we have about 5 minutes left. I see that you had called in for a reading. So is there a specific situation that you would like some clarity on?
Oh, gosh. Sort
no
of.
pressure, but you've got 5 minutes.
Yeah. Let's
go,
just
lady.
see what...
Get off the pot. Let's do it. Talk to me. What do you need to know about?
Let's just see what comes up.
All right.
Oh, I like
so
that.
I'm going to do what I call a general reading, and we're going to find out sort of a benchmark of what's happening with my good girl Michelle here. Ooh. All right, Michelle, I could have picked some really crappy cards. However, I didn't. So batten down the hatches. First things first.
I like that.
You have the Ace of Swords going on, which tells me that you tell the truth. You don't like bullshit artists. You are really forthright, and you have been like that in the past. However, it really hasn't put you in good standing sometimes because not everybody wants to hear the truth. So you've gotten bitten in the rear end. Yep, you've gotten bitten in the rear end by that. Is there any validation on that?
Yeah.
Yep. Now, I want to tell you, I don't know, are you married right now?
No.
Okay. But right now, I have the Two of Wands, and the Two of Wands says to me, you are either coming up against a business person or a family member or a husband, and it's a fiery card, but there is somebody who seems right now to be opposing you in pretty much a hardcore way, and this person is creating some change, or this job or this person, this boss is creating change within you right now. Are you having a difficulty with someone in particular?
Just myself.
Just yourself. Well, this card right here is telling me that there's somebody else that's...
Hello?
Hi.
Okay. Sorry about that, Michelle. But right now, the card is saying that you're about to go through some sudden change because you're looking at stuff. Now, I don't know whether it means that very much right now someone's coming in, but I have to tell you, as much as it sounds like, the old, you're going to meet a tall, dark, and handsome, looks to me like you're going to be walking down the street. You're going to be meeting someone, or you're going to be getting a new job, and it's going to be changing and making things much better for you because the Ten of Cups comes into your reading in the immediate future, which is one of the most fortuitous cards in the minor arcana. So when I look at your reading, I say, yeah, in a major way. The Ten of Cups is called fulfillment. I just get this sense. May I ask how old you are about generally?
I just turned 42.
Darling, you need to go, like I said to the people last week, gussy it up, get it out there, because I have a feeling you're going to be meeting a really powerful, wonderful man that's going to light you on fire. Because as I look at the Ten of Cups, it talks about fulfillment. It talks about you getting satisfaction. So to be perfectly frank, your cards look incredibly favorable. There are no warnings in it. It's all about a really good situation coming up for you. Keep your eyes peeled for someone that lights your fire, okay? Typical. Not all men are crap, okay?
Okay.
All right. So that's
all right, that's going to have to be the final word.
We have about right?
Yeah,
we have about 40
got about
seconds
40
left.
seconds. Yes, we do. And I'm so sorry for those of you out there who did not get a reading that wanted to, but here's the deal. Emailed me at janet@living-astrology.com. send me your question, and I will take a look at your chart. Make sure you give me your birth details. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to be covering as my
let me give my
radio
plug.
format
Let me
is weird.
give my plug real quick.
Give your plug. Jason.
Zenstaging at gmail.com if you'd like a reading from me as well. And next week, what did you say?
We'll figure it out later. Join us. It'll be an astrology conversation.
Awesome.
All right. So for all of us here at Living Astrology, have a stellar week. Bye for now.
Bless you.
Thank you for joining me today on Living Astrology. Living Astrology is part of the Empower You Media Network. You can find out more by going to www.living-astrology.com or by going to www.empoweryoumedia.com. If you would like to find out when our shows are airing, you can follow us at Blog Talk Radio under Living Astrology. Please consider liking us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Living Astrology and also Empower You Media. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now. Have a stellar week.